go. Good evening, and today we are the group 7 in which we're going to discuss the laboratory activity tree.
For exercise 1, in number 1, we resolve many-to-many relationship between student and the course using a barred relationship. Then in number 2, we resolve many-to-many relationship between faculty and the course. Lastly, in number 3, we resolve many-to-many relationship between student, course, and exam. Then in exercise number 2, we created an ERD and a non-transferability option to it from a given scenario to us. In exercise number 3, we construct an ERD that will keep a record of the old or previous grade that as well as the new grade and show how the ERD would modify to include historical grades if the student should have them. Junelin.
In exercise 4, the table is not in first normal form because the column color contains multiple values. For example, the first row includes values red and blue. A table is said to be in first normal form if there are no duplicate rows and the data is atomic or each cell is single valued. To bring this table to first normal form, we split the table into two tables. Alternatively, the table can contain the columns item ID, color, and unit price with each color in a row. Thus, the table has a composite primary key, supplier ID, store ID. The non-key attribute is location. Here, the non-key attribute location depends only on the store ID, which is only part of the primary key. Hence, this table does not satisfy the rules of the second normal form. To bring this table to second normal form, we split the table into two tables. Task 3. In the table, the book ID determines category ID and the category ID determines the category desk. Hence, book ID determines category desk through category ID. You will notice that there is a transitive functional dependency and the table does not satisfy third normal form. In other words, each column must depend directly on the primary key. All attributes that are not dependent upon the primary key must be removed. To bring this table to the third normal form, we split the table into two as follows. Exercise number 5, Normalized Academic Database (ERD). First, the student attendance information is a recurring group in the student entity, which violates the first normal form. The attendance information should be in distinct entities. Student attendance with a relationship to the academic session entity. Second, faculty login information is a repeating group that breaks the first normal form in the faculty entity. Because this information is repeated each time a faculty member logs in, it should be in its own entity, faculty login detail. Third, the exam type field determines exam name and exam description, and no non-key attribute can determine another attribute. The exam entity violates the third normal form. It should be separated into its own entity, exam type, and the exam type name and description should be placed there. Fourth, define the unique identifiers in the new entities accordingly.
For first normal form, you needed to identify that there were multiple messages received for a given user. So user and message were created. For second normal form, You needed to identify that not all the attributes in message were dependent on the key.
That
Yun na yung akin.
in gathering database requirements and business rules, the possible business rules identified as are: a customer can have a zero, one, or many orders. A customer address can be associated with only one address. A customer address can be associated with only one customer. A customer must have an email address, and a delivery is associated with just one order. In 6, an order must be associated with one and only one customer. An order can be associated with one or many products. A payment must be associated with one and only order. An order must be associated with a valid product. In exercise 8, in number 1, we match the ERD elements to their corresponding database elements. In number 2, we identify the table diagram notations listed below. In number 3, we create short names for the terms below based on the naming convention rules. Then in number 4, we use an X mark to identify in which entity the attributes listed belong to. In exercise 9, we map the entities, attributes, and UIDs to tables, rows, and keys using a table diagram with an ERD provided to us. Our analysis on what we observe on this activity is that we have in every problem, we must analyze it carefully and able to solve the problem fast and easy. Also, brainstorming is a must because other problems require teamwork. Our conclusion in this activity is that even in real life, it has entities like the concerts, where the description are the entities. Also, in relational database, when you work in stores, you see a list of items that are available. Thanks.